Odyssey Youth Movement is a youth-led, adult-supported program for queer youth in Spokane, Washington. 2022 marks Odyssey's 30th anniversary. As part of celebrating this important milestone, we're taking a look back at Odyssey's history. A lot has changed for the LGBTQ community in the past 3 decades, and we are proud of the role Odyssey has played in this progress. Odyssey was founded in 1992. Don Spellman developed the program within the Spokane County Health District under the auspices of HIV/AIDS outreach. Originally serving queer youth under the age of 25, the Wrap and Support Group began meeting wherever they could. One youth attended the first meeting. Participation in Odyssey grew as word spread. Roughly a year in, Odyssey had grown to include over 40 participants. The group borrowed space at the Red Cross and the YWCA for a couple years before securing the funds to open a dedicated drop-in center. This location was home to Odyssey for nearly a dozen years. The center was nondescript. Its entrance was in a rear alleyway next to a clothing store. Because of safety concerns, the address was kept confidential. Youth heard about the center through friends or trusted adults. Odyssey was also advertised in Spokane's queer publication, Stonewall News. For a time, youth had to go through a phone screening process to assure the continued safety of the center. But these safety concerns were exactly the reason Odyssey existed. The center provided a safe space for queer youth to be comfortable with themselves and to learn life skills. Odyssey made the most of this drop-in center. While the entrance may have been in a parking lot alleyway, that didn't stop youth from sitting outside on the steps or having a non-pool pool party. The interior of the center was adorned with youth art, posters, and informational flyers. There was a library and computers, a pool table, and of course, a TV or two. In May of 1995, Odyssey was profiled with a Spokesman Review. The next year, the group organized a spaghetti feed for Pride. That year, 1996, was the first year that Spokane's Pride celebrations were spread out through an entire week. In 2001, Odyssey officially became a 501c3 nonprofit organization. No longer under the umbrella of the Spokane County Health District, Odyssey began to expand its reach and programming efforts. In November 2002, Odyssey celebrated its 10th anniversary. Over 250 people attended the event on Spokane's South Hill. With a decade under its belt, Odyssey was ready to make a splash in the first decade of the 21st century. In 2003, Odyssey youth members led the Pride March for Pride Week in Spokane. Odyssey members took turns dancing out of a rainbow-colored cardboard closet carried at the front of the parade. The Spokesman Review featured this moment and even interviewed some of Odyssey's members for an article. In fact, lots of Odyssey members would be doing news interviews during this era. In the early 2000s, Odyssey would focus a lot of effort on youth activism and community engagement. In 2003, Odyssey helped bring the Shared Heart photography exhibit to Spokane. The exhibit presented the photographs and coming-out stories of 40 young people. Not everyone in Spokane was receptive to the exhibit. One person even wrote in a complaint to Auntie's Books, which displayed the exhibit for a time. Odyssey youth would participate in annual lobby days. Youth trained for and visited the state capitol to advocate for LGBTQ equity in legislation. Youth advocates from Odyssey regularly met with elected officials and implored them to fight for queer rights throughout these years. In October of 2004, Odyssey members joined counter-protests against the May Day for Marriage rally that was hosted in Spokane. The rally was meant to promote a constitutional amendment defining marriage as a union between a woman and a man. Nearly 100 people picketed the rally, which was attended by some 4,000 supporters of the exclusionary amendment. Youth, adults, and their allies rallied outside the arena to promote marriage equality and resist bigotry. These are just a few of the examples of Odyssey members lobbying and advocating for LGBTQ rights in Spokane and beyond. In 2006, Odyssey's board of directors was told the lease on their drop-in center would not be renewed. A search led them to Spokane's South Perry neighborhood, specifically a triplex built in the 1950s. After some initial renovations, Odyssey opened its doors once more on April 25, 2006. As part of the move, Odyssey's board voted to become an out organization. Odyssey's address was made publicly available. Rainbow signage went up, proudly displaying Odyssey's presence in the neighborhood. Odyssey even ran a couple of TV spots promoting the drop-in center and its brand new fundraising event, the Odyssey Masquerade. In 2009, Odyssey presented the Conference of Hope. This multi-day event offered workshops, speakers, and resources for both youth and adults. The conference promoted acceptance and support for queer youth in the greater Spokane community. Odyssey's drop-in center became an open house for the organization's 20th birthday party. Food, youth testimonials, and live music helped commemorate this celebration. The next year, Odyssey hosted its first Youth Queer Prom, an opportunity for a positive and inclusive school dance-style event for Odyssey participants and their allies. Each year, prom ambassadors are nominated by fellow Odyssey members and crowned at the dance. Signifying its importance to the neighborhood, Odyssey presented the first Pride and Perry Festival in 2018. This event was meant to help connect Odyssey in with the Perry neighborhood. Each June, Odyssey organizes this event to include an open house of the drop-in center alongside food and activities. It also highlights neighborhood businesses and their support for both Odyssey and the larger Spokane queer community. When the COVID-19 pandemic emerged in March of 2020, Odyssey was forced to temporarily close its doors for in-person drop-ins. Digital drop-in times were quickly developed to help continue Odyssey's vision of thriving LGBTQ youth in the Inland Northwest. As of April 2022, Odyssey is back to offering in-person drop-in 4 times a week. This has only been a quick glance of Odyssey's rich history of service and advocacy. While the faces of youth, volunteers, and leadership have changed over the years, our mission has remained the same: promoting equity for queer youth in the Inland Northwest through youth-driven programs and community education. We've accomplished a lot in 30 years, but there is much work left to be done. We're excited to see what the future holds and hope to enjoy even more community and volunteer support. But for now, here's to 30 years of Odyssey Youth Movement.